you understand people say, Joe Biden, he's an experienced politician, statesman, knows the issues of Ukraine. Why didn't he just say to his son, this is one to take a pass on, it may not look good?
He was already on the board, and he's a grown man. And it turns out he did not do a single thing wrong.
Not a thing. You didn't do a thing wrong. That's Lunch Bucket Joe. He's the President of the United States. If you can't believe him, who can you believe? Especially when he's talking about his crackhead Russian hooker, stripper, knocker-upper, paternity-denying, kicked out of the Navy's son. Kind of funny that the stripper named the daughter Navy. Kind of a sore issue with Hunter Biden and the Biden family, I would think. Kicked out for repeated cocaine abuse violations. But it's okay because, Democrats, they can shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and not lose a reporter. To paraphrase another great American. Happy Thursday and welcome. FBI file links Joe Biden to criminal scheme per whistleblower. There's yet another whistleblower. The news media, they don't really care about these whistleblowers. They just like that Vindman guy. Did you know that Vindman was Ukrainian? Since when did Ukraine become so much of a centerpiece in American politics? It's an amazing time to be an American, isn't it? I want to share this with you, and I have audio sound bites, audio actualities to share with you as well. With politicians and our news media. Our news media just, they want to kill this story. Honestly, it's crazy. Man, like the Tara Reid story, like the laptop story. There are so many stories and then they puff up the Russian collusion story. In fact, the inchworm is back. Adam Schiff is back. He was on CNN today, former news organization. And Adam Schiff, he's on there saying, well, there's no reason to believe anything here. There's no proof of anything. This is Mr. Russian collusion, 14 hours a day on the phony, corrupt, failed former cable news networks, CNN and MSDNC, on Russian collusion. Oh, no, I get the classified briefings. Everything is there. I've seen it all. I've seen the big board. The big board is right in there. And he was lying, of course. And the news media keeps going back to that well of lies because, that's their job to promote the Democrat Party and all of their many, many lies. Really, it's an extraordinary thing. Like their boy Joseph Goebbels of the Socialist Workers' Party in Germany liked to say, a lie told once remains a lie. A lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth. And that's always been the Joseph Goebbels and Adam Schiff philosophy, and CNN and MSNBC and the Washington Post. Hey, Russian collusion, and everybody's a Russian agent, even Democrat Congresswoman and U.S. Army officer Tulsi Gabbard, a Russian agent.
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Gurgle?
Might have been influenced by Gurgle. It's possible, yeah. Is that an antiseptic mouthwash? Grace got Gurgle, or a Nazi Socialist Workers' Party propagandist. Hard to say. Really, what's the difference? And so let me share with you some of the new news. Most news is new. That's the first part of the word, in fact. But the House of Representatives, House subpoenas FBI file on Biden role in, quote, criminal scheme, end quote, as new whistleblower emerges. Stephen Nelson at the New York Post has the story, and of course the Washington Post doesn't because they're not in the same business. Oh, and also speaking of the Washington Post, it was the Washington Post having this event yesterday with Tony Blinken when the Code Pink people showed up, the radical leftists with their signs, and they stormed the stage, and the diplomatic security people were nowhere to be found. They're probably off watching MSNBC or something, but I'll get to that too. In a stunning development, the New York Post reports, certainly not the New York Times, the House Oversight Committee issued a subpoena Wednesday for an FBI file that a whistleblower said links President Joseph Robinette Biden to a criminal scheme involving, quote, money for policy decisions, end quote, during his vice presidency. Might it be Ukraine? I think we're told it's not Ukraine and it's not China, but yet another country that is lining the pockets of the corrupt Biden family. The tip is a potential breakthrough for GOP investigators looking into Joe Biden's role in his family's business dealings in countries such as China, Mexico, Russia, and Ukraine. Now, isn't it amazing that Hunter Biden and members of the Biden family have business deals in all these countries? Do they speak Cantonese or Szechuan? No. Do they speak Spanish? Just enough to tell the maid what to do. Russia, do they speak Russian? Huh? They get along fine in Ukraine with their language skills, do they? Republicans say the file pertains to potential wrongdoing by Joe Biden rather than possible criminal activity by his son, Hunter Biden, or another relative that indirectly implicates the president. The alleged corruption is believed to involve a country other than China. Now, this is kind of fascinating. So how many, and honestly, where are the language skills? I know a lot of people who's, I've got a great friend here. She's kind of moved to Florida, but used to live in Montgomery County here. And one of her sons, very bright sons, one of her sons works in Taiwan now, in Taipei, does business as his father did long ago. And of course, he speaks Chinese, right? Because he went there to do business. Now, does Hunter Biden speak any of the relevant and requisite Chinese dialects that one might need to do business in China? The answer is no, of course. Yet, millions of dollars flow into the Biden family coffers, and the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN don't see anything interesting in that. Two sources say the whistleblower is not the same person as the IRS agent who anonymously came forward last month to allege a cover-up in the criminal investigation of the first son. That again goes to the Merrick Garland Justice Department, the Joe Biden Justice Department, the corrupt FBI under Christopher Wray. The document subpoenaed by the Republicans in the House Oversight Committee was, quote, created or modified in June of 2020, end quote, months before Biden won the presidency, and must be supplied at a meeting on May 10th. The subpoena says, that really the FBI, the Justice Department are just blocks away. Why don't they just, and they have, I think they're connected by the internet. They could say, hey, corrupt Justice Department, we're knocking on your door. Hey, corrupt FBI, fork over the document that we know about that you guys have been sitting on and hiding since the middle of 2020. It's now nearly the middle of 2023, and there was a presidential election in between. And boy, I got to tell you, there's a lot of corruption in this filthy, rotten, corrupt city called Washington, D.C., my hometown. Well, it has been for a long time anyway. Oversight Committee James Comer, the Kentucky Republican, said that the whistleblower tip, quote, raises concerns that then Vice President Biden allegedly engaged in a bribery scheme with a foreign national. Now, let me get some audio on this because this is a big deal. The next headline, whistleblower alleges FBI, DOJ have document revealing criminal scheme involving Biden, foreign national. Document is said to describe an exchange of money for policy decisions. Why would this be of any interest at all? Here's Senator Chuck Grassley, who is and has been known for a very long time as a senator that is friendly to whistleblowers that want to tell the truth about government corruption. You can go to Chuck Grassley's office and they will protect your identity and take the information from you and seek justice. No, real justice, not the the fake justice that the left pretends to pursue all the time. Senator Chuck Grassley.
We have credible information that this possible criminal activity took place. And I can't verify whether or not it's really criminal activity, but I do have faith in the whistleblowers that bring it to me that this document exists.
And now the scuttlebutt is that this whistleblower is inside the FBI, unlike the other whistleblower inside the IRS, who is alleging a cover-up by the Department of Justice under corrupt Merrick Garland, who's bitter that he's not on the Supreme Court, and is a party apparatchik rather than a legitimate, objective chief law enforcement officer for the United States of America as Attorney General, which is what he is supposed to be. Now, Chuck Grassley appeared on the Fox News channel with a reporter named Kelly Ferris, who asked him this.
And you say that this whistleblower is very credible.
Well, I think you got to go by what I have been able to expose from wrongdoing by the FBI or the Department of Justice from various whistleblowers.
Plural.
None of it has been refuted or contradicted.
And the multiple whistleblowers, and then Grassley goes public. He makes public. He goes to the floor. He speaks to the media. He holds press conferences. He puts these allegations out there. And normally in Washington, if somebody accuses you of something and it's not true, you jump to the microphones or have your sleazy Washington lawyer come out and refute, push back, deny. And there are not only no non-denial denials, there are no denials of any kind, which might suggest that no one wants to go on the record lying with the knowledge that they may find themselves before Congress under oath, although they lie under oath before Congress all the time, don't they, about spying on us and everything else. Senator Josh Hawley is a Republican from Missouri, and I think overall a pretty darn good guy and a truth teller, and he keeps his sense of humor, too, which doesn't happen a lot in this town. And he was asked about the whistleblower.
Here's what I understand based on what Senator Grassley and the House have said, is that there is a whistleblower who has come forward and has said that there is evidence of the president's participation when he was VP in an illegal foreign influence scheme. We need to know what that evidence is, and I don't know why anybody would want to hide it. I think the Democrats should come forward. If they're so confident that Joe Biden didn't do anything wrong, great. Then release the document. Let's get it all out there in public. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. We all need to see it. Let's get it all out there so people could see what the facts are.
That'd be a good idea. I think I'm in favor of that. And sunlight is the best disinfectant, a great American legal saying. Coming out of the Supreme Court, which the Democrats continue to try to delegitimize because they're a lynch mob. Again, Senator Josh Hawley talking about the Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Department of Justice regarding the whistleblower.
We should hear from Merrick Garland right now that the DOJ and the FBI will give this whistleblower the full protections provided by law. And I would just emphasize, Lawrence, this whistleblower is entitled to protections under the law. It's not like just a courtesy, like, oh, we're going to be nice to you. No, the law says that whistleblowers are entitled to full protection. There cannot be retaliation. They need to come forward right now, Merrick Garland, and say, we will protect this whistleblower, we will follow the law, and then they need to make all the evidence public.
All the evidence, but it's quite damning to them. It's what was that movie, Liar, Liar, with Jim Carrey? Why do you object? Because the evidence is damning to my client. The banking crisis continues to spiral, doesn't it? We just had another bank collapse the other day. Once again, the new second largest bank failure in our history. And we Americans, we need a place to turn to protect our hard-earned savings, don't we? You can't really trust the banking system under these guys these days. You need to diversify now. That's why you should call my friends at American Alternative Assets at 888-4-GOLD-20. They'll give you your personal wealth protection guide. They're going to help you protect your retirement savings by rolling over your IRA or 401k into a physical gold IRA. The fact is, you can hold physical gold and silver in your retirement account while still maintaining its tax-deferred status, all outside of a bank. So call 888-4-GOLD-20. Call them today and just get your free wealth protection guide. Take a look. American Alternative Assets. They've earned an A-plus accreditation from the Better Business Bureau. So protect your savings now before it's too late. Call American Alternative Assets at 888, the number 4, GOLD20 to secure your free gold and silver guide today. Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Yeah, and again, I got my Washington Post at my front doorstep today, and gosh, they just don't cover this news because it looks like a newspaper, but it's not.
Your Honor, I object!
And why is that, Mr. Reed?
Because it's devastating to my case!
Overruled.
Good call!
Hey, Chris here with some exciting news. Now you can listen to me live on the WMAL app. Doesn't matter if you're in your car, in the office, on the go. The WMAL app delivers crystal clear around-the-clock news coverage anywhere with cell service or Wi-Fi. So don't miss a second of your favorite shows. Download the WMAL app today on the Apple App Store or at Google Play Store.
One thing that I don't have to do is sit here and open my kimono as it relates to how much money I make or did or didn't.
Yeah, Hunter Biden being fluffed by the fake news media. Hey, I don't have to, remember to open my kimono. He said the old open my kimono reference. He opens his kimono plenty when, I was going to say when nobody's looking, but a lot of it's on video, so I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, boy. Now, I should share, because there are people joining and stations joining, that an announcement came out today, an announcement that Chris Plant, will be hosting a show on Newsmax TV beginning Monday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That'd be 6 p.m. on the West Coast. And, you can figure it out in between. But the statement went out today, and I'm very happy to be able to say that I will be hosting a show on Newsmax beginning Monday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern. It is a panel discussion show on the news of the day, and this has been in the works for some time. Been all hush-hush because we were still working it out, but Newsmax announces new show with Chris Plant. The statement went out today. Newsmax will launch a new primetime show hosted by Chris Plant beginning Monday, May 8th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Chris Plant, The Right Squad, will be an exciting panel show led by Chris Plant and will include Newsmax veteran Jen Pellegrino, who is wonderful, along with 3 other regular panelists. And the show marks a major new addition to the Newsmax lineup that begins each night with Greta Van Sustren's The Record, followed by Rob Schmidt tonight, Eric Bowling, The Balance, and then Chris Plant, The Right Squad. So I want to share that with you, and I'm congratulating myself. I'm congratulating myself. And we got a little Spill the Wine, Kiss That Girl, Dig That Girl, by War. So Newsmax and Chris Plant together for for the future, for Newsmax Rising. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry that it took so long to give you $10,000. Do you have any bruise, anything? Have I ever touched you in a bad way? Sweetheart, look at me. You cannot talk to me that way. I'm more respectful than anyone you've ever met.
That's Hunter Biden on video with a Russian prostitute. Really, no kidding. Bragging about how much money he's giving her, and he hasn't beaten her. Come on. She's a Russian. She's accustomed being beaten, a prostitute. So hang out with the son of the President of the United States, and good news, he might not beat you as much. That's Hunter Biden. Imagine Donald Trump Jr. or anybody with the Trump name having videos like that. Every American would have that. That video would be emblazoned on everyone's consciousness because it would play 1 million times. It'd be, boy, that'd be just, but when you're a Democrat, the fluffers, they run out of chapstick taking care of their Democrat pals, don't they? The Washington Post today, speaking of Democrats and absurdities, the front page above the fold picture, it's a very lovely picture, I've got to say. It's a scenic landscape from California, and the rolling hills with a ribbon of road winding through. It's really is a pretty picture, isn't it? It's a green and shades of green and yellow. It's a thick, lush field of wildflowers going on for as far as the eye can see, and some blue sky. And the description of the picture is, wildflowers cover the hillsides at Carrizo Plain National Monument in Santa Margarita, California, as part of this year's epic statewide, quote, super bloom, end quote. It's a super bloom. Well, that sounds very nice, doesn't it? That sounds really great. The headline, the main headline is Bloom or Bust. Well, wait a minute, isn't it? See, because last year the headlines were, there's a drought in California, we're all going to die. And then it rained like heck, and they got a lot of snow in the mountains, and they're skiing and snowboarding, and the snow melt is, they did negative stories about the snow melt too, because the drought was over. So they had to make the drought a negative story, and then the drought comes to an end, and that's a negative story too, see? So the headline under this beautiful picture is Bloom or Bust, and the subheadline is Historic Rains. See, there was a historic drought, now there's historic rains, and it's all climate change and global warming. Climate changes, it will always change, it always has changed. It's changing now. Yesterday was not like today in Washington, D.C., and tomorrow will not be like today. Historic rains have blanketed California with wildflowers. Well, that sounds real nice, doesn't it? Comma, but, so you got to have a but because that sounds too positive. But such kaleidoscopic events are under threat. Wait a minute, suddenly it's a threat? We got a but, and then there's a threat because of wildflowers? And the epic statewide bloom is now a negative. See that? Isn't that amazing? You know why? This leads me to one of my favorite old sayings. Every silver lining has a cloud. And that's your Democrat Party. And that's your news media. But I repeat myself. Every silver lining has a cloud. They've got beautiful wildflowers because the drought is over and the rains have come and the state has been replenished and this epic statewide super bloom is ongoing. But threat. Because that's your Democrat Party for you. During the depths of California's latest drought, much of the Golden State was brown, but hidden beneath the parched, cracked, and sometimes charred earth, life was waiting to emerge. And now that it has, they've found a negative spin, and it's on the front page above the fold. The torrents of rain that cascaded across California this winter broke records, flooded fields, and washed over hillsides. Sure, that's California, and that's Earth, and that's the climate, and that's what happens. And that will always happen. Doesn't matter how much of your money the Democrats take from you, that will continue to happen because it's called the climate. The sudden transformation of California's landscape from dry and apparently barren into kaleidoscopic fields of wildflowers has captivated the country and drawn thousands of revelers. It's a phenomenon that has become increasingly rare. That's really not true. It's on again, off again. It's California. A lot of it is desert. They're on the ocean. There are mountains here and there. The super bloom, like so many of nature's most magnificent expressions, is under threat. A changing climate regularly plunges the state into prolonged droughts. That's always been the case. See, here's the thing. This is, California became a state. We've only been there, people who have been writing stuff down have only been there for a couple of hundred years. And, our records don't go back that far, and the climate changes. And I played the audio of the climate scientist the other day who said, is the planet warming? Well, it depends on what sort of timeline you use. The planet is cooling, when we talk about from the medieval warming period and then their medieval cooling period, you've got to almost admire the fanaticism, the lunacy involved in finding something negative in everything. Drought, terrible. Rain, terrible. Snow, terrible. Everything is it doesn't matter what happens. It's bad news. Honestly. All right, let's get back to the bad news Bidens, because the Biden organized crime family, they got some splaining to do. Yes, they do. And there is a New York Republican congressman, Nick LaLatta. And he was on the television this morning, and he made some very sound points, and some obvious points that Democrats don't make and that the news media don't make. But I repeat myself. New York Republican Nick LaLatta.
We do know some of these details. We do know the president's son made millions of dollars in countries whose languages he did not speak, in sectors that he had no professional experience. We do know that. We also know he was involved in drugs and prostitutes, and we think that the Oversight Committee is right to ignore that aspect of it and focus on the money that's come from those foreign countries. Americans have a lot of questions as to what the president knew, if the president benefited from those dollars going to his son, again, in those countries where he had no experiences, in languages he did not speak, in sectors he had no experience. We need to know what the president's involvement in that was.
Gosh, what do you mean you need to know? Congress, you think you have in the House of Representatives oversight over the executive branch, like some kind of branches of government thing and checks and balances? Well, that's not in vogue at the moment. Congressman Nick LaLatta.
Now, the White House had said that there's nothing wrong there. The president did nothing wrong. So the president should answer this subpoena, should reveal any facts related to it so we can get to the bottom of it right away.
That would be good, rather than, the 5-year role that the Justice Department is giving us. And I think the Washington Post, a fake newspaper yesterday, had some breaking story from a leak from inside the Biden corrupt Justice Department, probably, saying, in Delaware, there is the special prosecutor, sort of, who is impaneled a grand jury, and they're making a career out of it. Most people start and graduate college in less time than these people are taking, and the evidence is plain for everyone to see. The laptop, the emails, the big guy, the 10%, the text messages to Hunter Biden's daughter that I got to give my father half of my income because he gets these phony no-show jobs in countries where, again, as the congressman here pointed out very intelligently, Joe Biden has no language skills. He doesn't communicate. He doesn't have any expertise in the businesses that are paying him millions of dollars. He doesn't have to show up. And these foreign countries are filling the bank accounts, filling the coffers, the treasure chests of up to a dozen members of the Biden family, and we've got a news media that pays no attention to it at all. Isn't that amazing? And if only we had a news media, what would they do? Congressman LaLatta.
We never want a president who's compromised, especially with our chief adversaries. The president's son was doing business in and around countries where we have a lot of adversaries. And we need to find out these details. If we're going to go down that road, we need to make it blatantly clear to the American public that he has been compromised, if he in fact has been.
Man, oh man. Does he speak Ukrainian? Does he speak Russian? Does he speak Cantonese? Does he speak Szechuan? Does he know how to make General Chow's chicken? Does he? On CNN this morning, they brought on the biggest liar in all of Washington, Congressman Adam Schiff of California, who lied every hour of every day for years on end about his inside information on President Trump and Russian collusion. And it was all an epic lie. Again, his boy Gurgle of the Socialist Worker Party. A lie told once remains a lie. A lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth. And that is the Adam Schiff axiom. That is the rule that he lives by, and CNN loves it. Now, CNN had the inchworm on today. His wife calls him the inchworm. His nickname is the inchworm, and he was there to lie. Oh, there's nothing to see here. We've never seen the laptop. We've never seen the emails. Remember the 51 corrupt intelligence officials, Mike Morrell and penitentiary face Brennan and Dana Bash's ex-husband, signed on to that letter of 51 felons that corrupted our election, like the way the CIA corrupted elections in third world countries during the Cold War. And now our CIA intelligence community has turned their powers inward on behalf of the left and the Democrat Party, keeping in mind that Barack Obama's CIA director, John Penitentiary Face Brennan, voted for the Communist Party candidate for the presidency of the United States, Gus Hall, and bragged about it. And then you remember they brought in Van Jones, who bragged about being a communist. And then you got Anita Dunn, whose favorite political philosopher is Chairman Mao, right? And that other Obama administration official, Ron Bloom, who said they agree with Chairman Mao that all power comes from the barrel of a gun. I think I see a pattern emerging here. Here's CNN inviting the biggest liar in Washington. And that is something. That is just amazing. To be the biggest liar in Washington. Nothing is analogous. there is a CNN anchor fluffer with the inchworm.
Oversight Chair James Comer is now subpoenaing records from the FBI. He has subpoena power, of course. He claims they could show then Vice President Biden receiving bribes, allegedly, from a foreign national in exchange for policy favors. I should note the White House has strenuously denied this. We have gotten zero evidence. We haven't seen anything of what Republicans are talking about. But Comer is coming out and saying this publicly. Other Republicans are as well. What do you make of that?
That is quite a loaded question with a lot of allegedlys and purportedlys, and they've shown no evidence of it. That is not the way they handled the Trump-Russian collusion story or the phony dossier, which wasn't a dossier. It was Hillary's opposition research. And remember the FBI director, James J. Edgar Comey, lied to the FISA courts repeatedly. The FISA court repeatedly say, oh, no, this is legitimate intelligence gathered by legitimate intelligence people. No, it was Hillary Clinton's opposition research, and it was nothing but lies. And they got warrants to spy on Americans, including a Naval Academy grad, Carter Page, and it was all a lie. And Adam Schiff was one of the biggest liars. J. Edgar Comey was one of the biggest liars. And here comes the inchworm with his phony, and this is, if you watch CNN to get your news, you honestly spend an hour doing that, you're dumber at the end of the hour than you were at the beginning of the hour.
Honestly, I don't think you can put much stock in anything that Mr. Comer has to say because his track record is very poor. When they put before these so-called whistleblowers before Congress, none of it has borne out. None of it has represented what they said it would. It's been a fiasco. And so I don't know whether this is just pure speculation that they believe there's a document of an interview. Well, there are lots of interviews. It doesn't necessarily mean there's any wrongdoing. So I wouldn't give much stock to this, but I'm not surprised they push out these unsubstantiated allegations. They've been doing it for some time.
They're unsubstantiated allegations. That's the whistleblower from the IRS, the whistleblower apparently from the FBI on the latest go-around. And this is our, our Congress and our news media. It is good to be a Democrat. Boy, is it good to be a Democrat. Now, we still have the border to get to because Joe Biden is planning on drowning the country in millions and millions of non-English speaking illegal aliens, which is why Barack Obama told us that we better learn Spanish. He told us long ago. Not everyone heeded his warning, and the fundamental transformation of America is well underway. The Democrat Party is not on our side. They are not on our side. And the inchworm on CNN, the biggest liar, well, I wouldn't put much stock in this unverified. Congressman Comer, let the hearings begin.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Now, my friend Mona in California, with whom we've been on many sea cruises, texted me after listening to my description of the Washington Post front page story. She says, 5 years ago, there was a lot of rain in Southern California. In Vista, where she lives, we got 28 inches of rain in the rain gauge, keep their own rain gauge. This year, 15 inches. And she says, the wildflowers are beautiful. But at the Washington Post, it's, comma, but, and then, of course, the word threat. And it's all about the threat because it's climate change, because everything must conform with the agenda of the party, including, of course, the weather. These people. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Bob calling from Herndon, Virginia. Robert, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
I'm great, Bob. What do you say? What do you know?
Well, last week there was a article I saw saying that the Hunter Biden witnesses were afraid for their lives. And then there were two other things. One said that the Communist Party police stations in the U.S. were specializing in intimidating and silencing Chinese citizens.
Yep, that's true.
So I was wondering if they were double dutying here and going after Hunter Biden witnesses because they're on the same side.
Well, they are on the same side, apparently, arguably at least. And it's true, the Biden administration allowing these Chinese secret operatives in New York to intimidate Chinese nationals who aren't towing the Communist Party line. And let me say also that the John Paul Mac Isaac, who used to own a computer repair store in Delaware, and then Hunter Biden dropped his laptop off and never came back to get it. He's had he lost his business, had to get rid of it because of the threats and the intimidation of people coming to him and getting in his face, as the Democrats recommend their thugs do. And he's gone into hiding. He's gone into hiding. You know, the police officer that was forced to shoot Michael Brown, remember Hands Up, Don't Shoot, which never happened. He has gone into hiding because the left is so dangerous and so threatening. Speaking of which, Bob, what happened to the would-be assassin that was arrested outside of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's home, who had a gun and multiple magazines of ammunition and burglary tools and kidnapping tools, and had targeted 3 members of the Supreme Court? And he was arrested, and the news media just made that whole story vanish. Imagine it were a Republican who had been threatening to murder the 3 liberal Supreme Court justices. We'd have everyday updates on the story.